because you got the quote unquote best team in the league in terms of your depth.
Let's not quote unquote.
All right, cool. You got the best. You got the best team in the league in terms of depth. In terms of depth, but look, I'm going to read out the list. Currently, you have what? Kai Havertz injured. Gyökeres injured. Jesus, I think he's on his way back. But you got Martinelli also, Noni, and also now your most important player in my eyes, Gabriel.
Mm-hmm.
Are you, man, going to be okay? Because your next fixtures, let's talk about them. Your next fixtures, it's not looking good, if I'm honest with you. You got Spurs, you got Bayern, you got Chelsea, you got Brentford, and you got Aston Villa. Will you be able to cope with these absences?
I think we've got that depth. It's not going to be a case of coming out and trying to get 3-4 goals in the game, but over the line. Like, defensively, we're still just as strong. Missing Gabriel was big, but it's not like we got Rob Holding coming in to take his place. Do you know what I mean? We've got Hincapié, we've got Mosquera, we've got Ben White that can do a job there. Obviously, Calafiori's out at the moment as well, but that means that Miles Lewis-Skelly's going to be coming into play because he offers a different dynamic. He's not going to be making bombing runs down the wing 20 yards out, but he's going to be secure when he's defending. He's going to be good moving the ball up through the midfield. So I don't think that's too much of a hit there. We've already done that considerable amount of time without Kai Havertz, without Jesus, without Odegaard now. So those players that are in that spot are finding their rhythm. Obviously, it's not ideal having 3 strikers out, but we've got Marino doing the job. I think that man's just been in the wrong position his whole career. You know, you come in last year, score 9 goals as a striker. You score a hat trick for Spain in the last international. I think we're going to be good. You know, North London derby is always going to be tough, but those games hardly ever come down to a battle of skill anyway. Those games, it's who can just get it over the line, whatever way. Against Chelsea, depends what Chelsea turns up. You know what I'm saying? But we need to win those games. It's not going to be as easy, but we need to win those games. Dropping points against Bayern ain't no big thing right now. So I think those are the most important things because all the players are all due to be back in involvement early December.
Yeah, but you know, one thing can I ask you a question? Because you see your set pieces, Let's say Gabriel he doesn't have to score them. Just his presence alone brings so much confusion in that box to a point where he gets like on the back, at the back post, he gets you assists sometimes, he gets flick-ons. This is often your route to scoring your first goal, Gabriel. Do you know what I mean? Will you get that same production now from set pieces with him being missing? Because I think, honestly, he's like one of the best ever I've seen.
Oh, he is. He's unreal. The man's getting double and triple teams now. Corners and free kicks. It's crazy. But what I have noticed is that when he's not there or when he's come off or whatever else, we then end up over that spot, which seems to work because that guy's an absolute beast in the air. He scored so many goals from in the air. And we've got other people that people talk about how good Gabriel is. If you actually look at the number of goals he's got compared to the number that we've actually scored, biggest outcome. He just looks like the biggest nuisance because no one can ever mark him. Do you know what I mean? Timber scored from there. Marino scored from there. A few other players have scored from those set P2 this season, maybe 3.
Yeah, but just before you go in there, like I said, it's not necessarily him scoring the goals, it's his presence and what he brings in that box. It's like you have to look out for him, and then he's a distraction for, like you said, the likes of Timber and all these people. And it's not him necessarily scoring the goals all the time, but his presence and also his flick-ons. He gets assists from these corners too. I'm saying, man's racking up the J from the corner, whether that's a goal or assist. So
listen, he's my FPL captain right now.
Bro,
because I know he's getting something, goals, assists, and a clean sheet. But now, without him in, depending on how long he's out for, teams, when they come up against us, obviously he's going to be a main point of focus. We need to watch Gabriel. This is what he does. Well, now he's not there. So now they're like, okay, everything that we've actually been focusing on is no longer there for us to focus on. So who do we look at now? They don't know what the other players are going to be asked to do. So I think it could still work in our favor. It's like, even though the other players would be what you'd see traditionally easier to mark, they now don't player is now the focal point, but now they don't know this player's movement because they haven't been studying the tapes because there are no tapes to study.
You know what? I think it's time for Saliba to step up, bro. I think it's time for Saliba to step up. I mean, Gabriel was holding his hand for the last year or so, bro. And it's funny how it was Saliba. You know what I'm saying? That's Gabriel. I think for him being the second in command in terms of like the back four, I feel like it's time for him to showcase why he was, you know what I'm saying, Real Madrid winning them and so forth. But I think there's no excuses because Arsenal have been buying defenders, bro. So them man gotta make it work. Whether it's set pieces or clean sheets, I don't hear nothing. Get the job done. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
No,
Errol, go on. I know he's gonna say something.
Bro, Hans is 100% right. He's spot on. And look the way I see it, you know, he touched on Gabriel being a different dimension. I've been saying this. I was doing Gabriel properly when people were doing this Saliba golf because I seen what he was doing in the opposition's box. And at that times, yeah, he still had a couple of bozo moments. But one of the things I like in a footballer is when they know their weaknesses and they address them. They start to work on those individual errors and they start to try and put the fixes in themselves. So you can give Arteta credit for that, but you can also give Gabriel massive amounts of credit for that. The fact that he's not going to be there, I slightly worry. I don't agree in Connor's sense that other teams won't know what to do because they will just revert back to type. In terms of them not having that focal point, I think Arsenal will feel more lost in those situations going into the opposition's box than the opposition will. The opposition have been setting up against different teams consistently throughout the course of the season already. So the fact that he's not going to be there is going to not necessarily be an automatic hindrance, but it just doesn't give the other 8-9 players that are occupying the box that confidence that something can happen. Do you know what I mean? They're going to have to start to figure out some of those answers themselves. In terms of what Han said, though, I genuinely believe he's absolutely bang on the money because I've said it all season, and Liverpool are in the situation Liverpool are in, and I always said, look, we'll try and do our thing. Do you know what I mean? But if we can't, there's got to be another team that proves that they're better to be able to do what it takes to get them across the line without any excuses. And I always addressed Arsenal as that other team. So it was like, both of those teams are the ones going for it because they've got to put the ambition out there. Liverpool have got to defend it by rights. And Arsenal have got to try and get it over the line finally. He's brought in a whole bag of defenders. It's about now whether the ones that he's had that have been waiting in the wings, assessing, reading games off the bench, now can implement to the same standard. Because we've seen it is difficult when you've set such a high standard for the spine of your team. When you've got a few missing pieces in that spine and you try and drop somebody else in and ultimately have to give them a run of games, it does become difficult to not even remain. That person coming in, having to just hit the ground running and be at that level is a hard thing when you've been out in the cold for a number of weeks. The international break may have done them a little bit of a favour. This hasn't really happened in the run of a difficult set of fixtures. He's not got through the Tottenham game. He hasn't got through the Bayern game, and then he's went down and there's another 5 fixtures to go. He's gone down at the start of them. So Mikel Arteta will have a chance to observe and learn where he needs to make tweaks defensively without him. But
just to even piggyback off that, sorry to cut you off, Errol.
No,
you know, when it comes to like title winning sides and stuff, there's one thing that you rarely change, and that's your back four. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I can change my DM, my striker, my winger, but that back four and the keeper, you gotta keep. And you see Arsenal what they're doing in the Carabao Cups and the Champions League, the same back five. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where you build from. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But with that being said, I feel like Arsenal probably do beat Tottenham. You know, I wouldn't say comfortably, as Connor said, like not. I rate it comes down to who probably wants it more. Do you know what I mean? Maybe a bit of luck. But yeah, I feel like Arsenal definitely got the Northampton derby for sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read some comments quickly. Gabriel will be a big loss, but we're a big club, should be able to deal with his absence. I'm just gonna talk on his absence and who should step in for him. I think that's gonna be Mascara. And then Iscobi says, I can't lie, Gabriel is a huge miss for them. As a Liverpool fan, we must make sure we pick up as much points as possible because I can guarantee Arsenal will drop points in their next run of fixtures. I agree. Just to piggyback off what everyone said, I feel Arsenal have got the players to cope with Gabriel's absence. I'm just more so focused on the impact he brings as a leader, as I feel like that's Mr. Arsenal in terms of Gabriel. When I watch him, the way he rallies the troops when stuff are going wrong, or like when there's a big block or interception or whatever, Gabriel's the first to yes, put the guys together. And again, his presence in the opposition box, as much as referring to what Errol said, when he first came, he was a bit of a bozo. He had all of these moments. Now he's turned into a top centre back, world class in my opinion. The presence.
It takes time, bro. That like people, like even with the Saliba stuff, do you know what I mean? I think if you reverse the seasons now, in that season where they were so many points clear, and then everyone was like, Saliba got injured. Them times, Gabriel still had some shaky moments in him. That's why they couldn't rely on him to get him over the line. Whereas I think if the same thing happened this season towards the back end, I still think no matter who's alongside Gabriel, it might not be that prime Virgil van Dijk level where you're dragging somebody up to your level. But I think he's enough of a defender now, and as you say there rightly, he's world class, that whoever's going to be alongside him in that last stretch, his leadership, his commanding, the way that he talks, his communication, I think he's got enough qualities now to be able to do that in the absence of somebody like Saliba. And to Hans' point, it's going to be interesting to see if Saliba can step up now.
Yeah, man.
Just quickly, Hans, sorry. Mosquera, he came on at Anfield and didn't look like he didn't miss a beat. Literally, he was top. He's been top as soon as he come in. But again, to do that for a sustained period of time for 5 games now without Gabriel being in there, especially with the fixtures, like I said, the Spurs game, the Chelsea game, the Bayern game. Let's see how he adapts. But are you confident, Connor, in Mosquera coming in and being able to cope with that absence
of Gabriel? You're forgetting Hankipe, or if that's how you pronounce his name, he's also there as well.
True. I honestly think he's a left-sided centre back as well. Yeah, true. Go on, Connor. Sorry.
Well, that's the thing, right? Gone are the days when centre back was a centre back, whether you're left or right foot, it didn't matter. If you had to fill in, you had to fill in. Now it seems to be very focused on, okay, he's left footed, he's right footed, so I think that Hincapié is going to come in. We're looking at captain for his national team, right? Yeah, principal in Germany. This is someone that has done it, right? So the coming in for the North London derby in a game against Chelsea shouldn't be too much for him to handle. Do you know what I mean? The can actually have an impact on them, but it's in a slightly different way. So what we're seeing is where Hans said about Saliba needs to step up. Gabriel has taken such deep in his ability, like Errol said, that it's kind of more noticeable. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So like for Saliba, he doesn't have the impact. But then when you watch him, like you'll see crazy last-ditch tackles from Gabriel or these clearances or these other things. Then when you watch something come Saliba's way, he doesn't, because he doesn't get into that position. Do you know what I mean? The defending style was slightly different. Like we saw it even in like the Madrid game where Mbappe tries to go around and Saliba just steps across the man because his reading of the game is that good. So hopefully that way in which he reads the game can then rub off on whoever it is playing with him. But he does need to be very vocal with that person. But at the same time, when we're watching the game on the pitch, every now and again you'll hear a player shout "fuck off," and you'll hear it on a little microphone, but we don't hear how much talking actually goes on. For all we know, talking the entire match. But then we just have no idea. Do you know what I mean?
Quickly, is Timber out, by the way? Or
yes, that's another thing as well. Apparently Timber got a little knock yesterday. Someone did a high challenge on his knee. I don't know, it hasn't been diagnosed yet, but apparently there's a doubt. We'll get more information